Okay, so hello and welcome to another assembly with me, Mr. Crawford. I hope that you remembered to take off your virtual coat and bag on your way into the assembly. And I've got to say, I'm really pleased to be back. So I'm here today on behalf of the other enrichment leaders, Mrs. Haynes and Mr. Campbell. And we're going to be talking today a little bit about Children's Art Week in preparation for some of the activities that you'll be doing hopefully over the course of this week. So I'll just give you a moment here to read some of the information on the slide. Okay, so hopefully what you can sort of see from all of these pictures is that art can encompass a variety of different things, whether that be singing, acting, dancing, all of it sort of comes under this very broad category really of art. And although I'm going to be looking at a range of different pieces of art that have been submitted by students today for the last enrichment competition, I'm also going to end the assembly by just thinking about my own experiences as an artist, as an actor, which obviously was the job I did before I became a teacher, and also kind of offering some tips really as to how you might be successful if you decide to become an artist once you've finished at school. But without further ado, let's have a look at some of the really kind of thought-provoking pieces of art that we've had submitted for the last enrichment competition. So this first piece by Katie Darby, I'll just be quiet for a second to give us a moment to take that art in. I've got to say, Katie, I really like your use of colour in this picture, and in particular, how you've thought about the importance of speaking up when it comes to diversity and sort of sharing views boldly. So very well done for that. Next one from HTA. I promise not to do sudden operatic singing too often. Got to tell you folks, HTA had more entries for this competition than any other form in the school, which technically means that we at least won on entries. So very well done, HTA. Obviously, I know you're brilliant. I'll be quiet now so we can look at Zoe Ball's picture. And again, a really nice use of colour, I think, here to sort of make points about how we've got to be thinking about ways we can make society fairer, really, and how it should not be anything to do with the colour of your skin or your own background that affects how well you do. We need a society where people are accepted on their own merits rather than anything that might be an aspect of their identity. And I think Zoe's picture, I really like the fact the colour's almost used as a form of protest there to get your attention and to sort of highlight that this is a really important and significant issue. Another one from, you get the point, 88. Right, I'll just give you a second to look at Dure's poster. I've got to say, Dore, your poster, what I like about it is that notion that actually diversity covers a broad range of things. It covers, the freedom to sort of express your own thoughts and beliefs, as we looked at with the Rights Respect in School article at the start on that first slide. But also, it encompasses issues like sexuality, disability, and the rights for disabled people. And as I looked at your poster, it really reminded me that one of our key school values, of course, is empathy, but also the fantastic work that we've been doing in our Pride Club about celebrating different aspects of people's identities and sort of highlighting the fact that what makes you unique is what makes you brilliant. So I really like this poster because I thought it was a fantastic illustration of that. Great one here from Gertej, got to be said. Well done, Gertej. Gertej is another tame entry. I think can I move my head up a little bit? So yes, so you can see. Another tame entry. Okay, I'll just let you have a look at that now. What I like about your picture, Gertej, is the notion that actually everybody has to stand together to unite. If we can sort of come together, and actually I think that's where we're very good as a school. As a school, one of the things that always impresses me about you as students is that you constantly look out for each other and you constantly build one another up to succeed. And I think that's one of our real strengths actually as a community, and a key point about what it means to be in the Stockland Green family. So I'll give you a second to have a look at this fantastic entry from HTA and Min Reynolds Lock. Now, a number of people submitted ideas or posters based on Black Lives Matter, and it's worth saying unambiguously, Black Lives do matter. And what I would say is I liked Min's poster with the sort of combination of people protesting, but also the really good sort of ways that you can get involved with helping people to sort of make a point about this. Now, it's worth saying that Min makes a big point about police brutality. And actually, I think one of the things that's so shocking about the death of George Floyd is you see the actions of a police officer that are just appalling and horrific. At the same time, it's worth saying that I know a range of police officers in America have come out and protested against the actions of that officer. And I would encourage you to look at Mr. McCarthy and Mrs. Sims' assembly because they really sort of go into this in quite some depth and offer some really good ideas as to how you can further your own understanding about this and ways that we can move forward as a school community to hopefully help continue to tackle the issue and the horror of racism as we move forward. And Salman, I really like yours because it's all based on religious faith, which I think is lovely. So let's have a little look at your picture for a second. You know, Salman, one of the things that I was really struck by as I looked at your picture is the fact that all religions to some degree, and to be fair, this is as much about integrity and another one of our school values, isn't it? But all religions are sort of linked to this idea of looking after other people. So I can see that we've got all the broad faiths represented in there. I was actually thinking bizarrely of a conversation that I had with a student who's a Muslim just before we broke up. And we were discussing the fact that in the Quran, there are so many references, I know, to protecting others. And we were talking about how that's similar in some respects to Christianity, where of course we have that idea of, you know, sacrificing your life even to save somebody else or to look after somebody else is the ultimate expression of kindness. And actually the importance of looking after other people. I think of Sikhism and the fact that to be a Khalsa Sikh, you must carry a kirpan, of course. And the kirpan often symbolically now represented that small sword that quite a lot of people will hang around their neck as a reminder that actually you draw that sword to protect other people, to make sure that you are standing up for injustice. But really, it's a key thing that comes back to this theme of diversity, isn't it? And as a school, I'm proud of the fact that we have so many religious faiths represented in our assembly hall, and people of all beliefs, whether they believe in God or not, actually take the time to talk about quite frequently how their beliefs have shaped their understanding of what it means to look after others. So a fantastic entry, I think, showing that. Now, I want to close my assembly today with really, I suppose, two pieces of advice for aspiring artists that were given by Neil Gaiman in a fantastic talk called Make Good Art, which I'd really encourage you to look up on YouTube. So I'll just give you a second to look at this first piece of advice. Now, Neil Gaiman argues that you only need two things to be a successful freelance artist. And there's three things you really need, but you only need two of the three. The ability to produce thought-provoking art, difficult. The ability to be kind, surprisingly easy, but some people find it very difficult. The ability to be reliable and to deliver work on time. And actually, I think that's a key thing I'll be thinking about over the Children's Art Week. And I spoke about my time at drama school. One of the biggest things I learned, we had a fantastic director called Gareth Nichols, who runs a theatre company called Little Earthquake. They're a Birmingham-based theatre company, actually. And they had two mantras. I really like it. Firstly, that you're not the most important person in the room. Everyone else is. It's not about you. It's about everyone else in the room. But also that one of the kindest things you could do in any rehearsal is just turn up on time and be responsive to others. And I think that's so true. I think people will often say, well, what do you need to do to be successful in life? And I would argue that quite often, sometimes, the person with the best skill for a job, let's say it's a footballer even, might not get the role. I think of Balotelli as a really good example, really good footballer, but he's not getting positions at clubs. He's just been let go of his last club actually, because he doesn't turn up for training on time. And often when he's at training, he's not easy to get along with. Now, these are skills that we can all develop, aren't they? They're character traits that we can all have. And actually, it's something we need to focus on. We might not be the best at maths. We might not be the best at science. But we could all aspire to be the best at being kind. We could all aspire to be the best at being punctual and reliable. And I would suggest that those skills are just as valuable as anything that you might be able to produce on an artistic level, or indeed on any level when it comes to a piece of work. I'll just give you a second to look at the second piece of advice, which I think is really good. So I think it's worth saying that any form of art, whether it be dancing, acting, singing, music, drawing, involves making mistakes, doesn't it? It involves a process of redrafting. But I think a lot of people sort of struggle to get started with that. Quite often a student will say to me, they'll say, well, Mr. Crawford, how can I be a really good writer? And I'll say, well, what do you write? And they say, I don't write anything. And they almost expect their first draft to be absolutely perfect. It's like painting a picture and going, oh, this would be great. It might take you 3 or 4 goes to get that picture good. It might take you 3 or 4 attempts writing that short story to get it where you want to be. And I suppose one of the best things I think art can teach us, whether it's through drawing or whatever means, is that learning is about a process of being kind to yourself really while making mistakes. So you make an error and you go, I'll do that differently next time. And that doesn't change, by the way. As an adult, that's still something I do day to day. I'll make a mistake. I'll make countless mistakes by the end of today. But actually, it's whether or not I'm prepared to learn from them that matters. And actually, I often remind myself of this quote. If I'm making a mistake, at least I'm trying. And trying, remember, is the only way to improve. Oh, philosophy. Okay, I want to end with a moment of reflection. This is a picture by the artist Charlie Mackesy, who I know Mrs. George is a massive fan of. And actually, he's a brilliant artist. So I'll just give you a second to look at this picture. The thing I like about the picture, the horse is almost supporting everybody else there, isn't he? But he makes such a good point. Remember today, however good you might be, whatever you do, nothing actually is better than being nice to other people. So I hope at the end of this assembly, you'll go out to wherever you are. You know, maybe you'll go to your kitchen or you'll go and see somebody who's in your house and you'll just ask them how they are. Maybe make them a cup of tea, do something nice. And perhaps this week, as we celebrate Children's Art Week, we can think about both how we can make art that expresses the idea of being kind to ourselves and also how we can make art that looks at the issue of being kind to others. I really miss you all, as I know all the teachers do. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to be back for another virtual assembly in the distant future. All right, see you soon. Now, anyone who watches Crucially Crawford knows that I have an awkward goodbye. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.